clever to say?
I don't have anything to say.
Moment like this, some people wait a lifetime.
Yes.
Welcome to the Wrong Indian Podcast.
Native Americans of all trades, masters of none.
What does that mean? Oh, we have a lot to say. We're not the experts.
But we talk to the experts on a variety of issues.
I'm Brittany Schulman.
Kenrick Escalante.
This is the
Wrong Indian Podcast.
Welcome back to the Wrong Indian Podcast, Season 2, Episode 6. I am Brittany Schulman.
Quits Kamadum Ventiv. This is Kenrick Escalante, and I'm exhausted. How are you guys? Hey, like I try to remind you guys every time we start our episodes, if you like what you're hearing, please go out there and subscribe and rate us. It helps the algorithm. It helps people find us, and, we start building that community that we really need.
Yeah, and thank you so much to those of you who have. Every comment, I try to get on there and say, hey, thank you so much, or yes, we would love to do more of whatever it is you want us to do. So, just thank you so much. We appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, ding the little bell so that you get notified every Monday when the podcast actually makes it onto the YouTube.
The YouTubes.
Yep. It's my favorite way to watch podcasts.
Yeah, see, I'm old school. I actually like listening to them. I like listening to them in the car. Unfortunately, I don't get to do that enough anymore because of COVID.
I was going to say, you driving places? Because that don't happen no more over here.
Well, I have been for the past couple days. I mean, which is why, our YouTubers who are watching us, I look horrible because I'm exhausted. I work for an amazing organization, and right now we're just in the midst of one of our biggest events that we pull off every year. And because of COVID, we're doing it virtually. So we're doing a lot of behind the scenes work. And I don't know what sleep is right now.
Oh, so you don't just make little memes and put them up? That's not what you do? You make little cutouts and put it up? That's not what you do.
Nope. We don't.
So speaking of, watching and paying attention, what are you watching? Are you watching anything right now other than,
I'll tell you what, what I'm watching? I'll get to it. All I've been watching is news, like nonstop news, good for bad or the ugly. I mean, I think it's a lot of it bad for my consciousness, but I just been watching news. We've had a huge election that literally just wrapped up. We can talk more about that in a minute. But other than that, I've been consistent about watching The Mandalorian, and we watched episode 2. Episode 2 came out, and in the back of my head, I kept saying, Brittany better have watched episode 1 and 2. I swear you better.
I did watch episode 1, and I did start episode 2, but somewhere along the way I went to sleep, which is not a reflection of Mandalorian and any of that. It's just a reflection of my mental health and tiredness. I literally, because like on the weekends, this is the weekend, I get up at 5, 6, I get in here and start doing my homework. And I did that. And because of watching the news and then paying attention to my social media, I think it was Thursday night, I was just up all night. I could not calm myself down. I could not ever rest. So I literally stayed up till about 4:30 Thursday night. And then I got back up again Friday morning after an hour or so. And then Saturday I got back up again. So yeah, I went to watch it and I was just exhausted.
Well, it's great.
I don't care about, but we'll say spoilers for the people who actually care about spoilers. Now you can talk to me because I don't care about spoilers. Tell me all the things.
No, that's the thing though. Like, I respect that. I'm totally about not wanting to ruin things for people. So I can talk about it without having to spoil anything. I mean, honestly, it's just another fun adventure. I mean, the synopsis of Mandalorian season 2, I mean, you have to know this, is that the Mandalorian has been basically quested that he needs to take the child and deliver him back to his kind. So season 2, the whole adventure is that he's trying to find where he comes from. And so right now what Mandalorian's doing is trying to find other Mandalorians, because if he can find other Mandalorians, they can help him on this quest to return the child. And so, yeah, I mean, and that's not a spoiler, you know, I mean, that's just, you know, if you watched, you know, Mandalorian 1, I mean, it explains it. But
apparently he took his helmet off in the first one and I completely blinked and missed it.
Well, it wasn't a full takeoff. It was more of a tease. And so, you know, and what I've read, you know, behind the scenes is what I'm hearing. And I don't know if it's true or not. It could be all rumor, but the actor who plays Mandalorian, apparently he was trying to convince Disney to be like, look, there needs to be more of me, you know? So like, let's show my face. Like, let me take off my helmet. Like, you know, like in a room or something.
This is not the way.
Yeah.
Disney going, this is not the way, friend. And we can fire you at any time.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's like, there's a lot of extras and stuntmen who actually play him a lot through these episodes. And so they're thinking like, look, man, we're going to pay you. You're contracted and you're going to do voiceover if you don't want to be the body of Mandalorian. And probably, I think he's really just jealous because the child really took off and he's very popular. And you're seeing that. And you're seeing that now in season 2 because episode 1 and 2 is heavy.
Baby Yoda.
Child. Oh yeah, Baby Yoda.
Don't call him child. He's the Baby Yoda. I don't care what his name is. Forever he is known as Baby Yoda.
and you know what? He's killing
and he's
it.
native. We've adopted him and taken him.
Episode 2 is so fun because the quest that they're on, they're trying to get to a planet and they had to take a stowaway or a passenger with them. And let's just say that passenger has precious cargo. And let's just say Baby Yoda doesn't give a care about it.
Is it a chicken nugget?
It is. Yeah. And like that's the theme of the episode. The episode's like, you know, he gives two nuggies and you know, he just wants to eat whatever he sees. So yeah. What have you been watching?
What I was able to, the night that I could not go to sleep, I found a new show.
Oh, you did?
I did. It's Ken Jeong is the host. It's called I Can See Your Voice.
Oh yeah, I've seen the marketing for that.
It's so goofy. Oh my gosh. But again, you know me, I love a train wreck, and this is a great train wreck. So they have 6 different people who have some sort of something. So they had like the B girl from the video way back in the day, a choir director, a security guard. I mean, all these different jobs, pop star, whatever. And the whole point is to figure out who can sing. Yeah. I think I want to be on this show. Not because I can sing, but because I would be a great, not good singer.
So basically, like they have to like, I'm sure there's like a short promo video of who you are, and they get to talk to you. They don't talk to you. And
no. The contestant who's playing, they do the first game. They do is the 3 of them come up and they lip sing to a song. And so in the lip singing, the ones who can actually sing, it's them singing the song. The ones who can't sing, it's them lip singing to someone else's voice. And so then they have to
Is it obvious though?
You would think so. You would think, I mean, because they also have the celebrity panel of judges.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking because Adrian, what's her face, little cheetah girl. She the one thing she will keep pointing out, she said, there is a trill, and I was looking at their throat, and they were not trilling in their throat. I was like, you're paying attention because I couldn't tell that. And then, so you would think it's obvious, but sometimes it's not so obvious. Some people are really good lip singers, and some singers really suck at lip singing. So that's the first, they do 3, then the other 3, they have to eliminate 2 from that. And then he has their phone, and you get they can pick one person to see their phone. Then they eliminate someone based off that. Then they can pick someone to go in the sound booth, and they either like hum or or sing something with their voice changed, just to see if they can figure that out. And then it comes down to the last person. So since there's 6, each stage, you can win $10,000 if you find the person that has a bad voice. If you find someone with a good voice, you don't win any money. So when you get to the last person, you can either choose, because you never know if it's 2 good singers or 4 good singers. You never know who's in the mix. You can choose, if you've got at the last person, if you want to keep what you have, or if you want to go for the $100,000.
Interesting.
And if the person is a good singer,
right,
you win $100,000.
Oh, cool.
Not everyone has won. It's an interesting show. Cool. I've found a lot of humor in it, in between watching news and social media as I was awake all night long.
Well, I mean, one thing, look, Indian country. I mean, I know you're not living under a rock. So, like, one thing I've noticed in my 24/7 stream of news watching is that we have been, we've been labeled again.
Labeled or mislabeled?
Look, I mean, okay, so the gist is CNN they were putting out their demographics and all these different polls and all these different things that they were putting up during the election countdown. And they put up a demographic of voters, and there was just, they had everybody up there.
It had white, black, Latino, something else, Asian. That was literal how it went down.
Good old
and had it been other, we'd all rolled our eyes and be like, yeah, sure, we're not counted. Okay, whatever. But something else was something else. It was just, it's meaning. It's not just a meaning. It's very dehumanizing, particularly because it's not even, something else could be, a chair. Oh, look, the chair voted for this guy. It was, so it was very dehumanizing. However, Court, if you're watching us, you can see Native humor is something else, guys. Go hashtag something else on Twitter and just look at the memes. Oh my gosh.
I put it in my bio. I mean, if you go to my Instagram bio, I have a picture of something else. I love that it was instant. It was instant, and Indian country didn't even scoff at it. All we did was just make fun of it.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Our people.
I mean, our people know how to just laugh at things, man. And
it's a great trauma response. I actually recorded another podcast that's coming out on Tuesday, and that's one of the things we talked about was Indigenous invisibility, because this is just another example. It's just another throw it in the bucket. We have it all the time. We're invisible. We get it. But we showed up and showed out.
Yeah, that's something else.
When you go and look at the polls and you start looking at the numbers, the states that were on top of it were all states where there is a large Native American population. And I love pointing that they point out the reason Arizona flipped was the Native vote. 89%.
Listen, ma'am, do not take away my shine, Miss New Mexico. You've seen and you felt blue for a very long time. I come from Arizona.
Tell it. You tell it. Brag on it, because it was beautiful.
I live in still the red part of Arizona.
Not no more.
Arizona has turned blue. And the reason why it's turned blue, you look at that map. You look at the voting map, and guess what? It's all our reservations.
Everyone.
Why?
And the urban areas, which you can't laugh at. There's significant numbers of natives in the urban areas as well.
Well, absolutely. Maricopa County. Maricopa County came out big. And because of that, something else turned Arizona blue. Something else turned Nevada blue and kept it blue. Something else helped rebuild the blue wall.
Yeah.
So something else was us, the Native vote, and we rocked it, and it was amazing. And one of the things too, like one of the organization I work for, I mean, we do so much advocacy for Native vote, and the civic engagement team that we have, I'm so proud of them because this is so rewarding. Like this whole thing that happened, you know, watching the turnout, watching the Native vote turnout, and seeing people recognize it and giving us the respect that's due. It came late.
Eventually.
It came late, but it did come. And you know what? It was just icing on the cake. I mean, it really shows that like what I'm doing, what you're doing, because, you know, I know the advocacy that you're doing in New Mexico and all of Indian country, all the hardworking men and women who are doing it, especially the Native women. My goodness, the Native women who organize and mobilize and have made the Native vote so strong. This was our moment, and I loved it. I loved it.
And for a lot of us, it wasn't so much. And I mean, literally, as the count was coming in and when it was decided it was Biden, there was a collective sigh of relief. Side of the aisle you're on, I don't care how far left leaning you are. It was all like a moment of going, okay, we can breathe. Because and I know a lot of people personally who are much further left than I am, and I'm pretty far left. It was not so much a vote for Biden as it was a vote against Trump. And I feel like even those more moderate Republicans or whoever they are, it wasn't that they wanted to vote for Biden. It's that they didn't want another 4 years of what we've got. Because it's not been this beautiful, wonderful hayride that we've been on. It's been pretty tragic in a lot of senses.
It's been a ride. It has been a ride.
Well.
Look, you know what? 74 million people. 74 million people. Record. And it's still climbing.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Yeah, because that was, again, I was feeling all doom and gloom.
I know. We talked
so this
about
made me feel so much better that that people were willing to get up, get out, even in a pandemic. We haven't even overlaid the fact that there was a whole lot of extra precautions that had to be taken just to go vote. There was a whole lot of lawsuits that were happening as the vote was happening. So shout out to everyone who did your part. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, the people who were working in those states, all the states, I mean, the counters.
And still working because, you know,
around the clock.
Yeah.
You know, the Postal Service who came out and, you know, did their job that they always do. You know, I mean, it's just crazy to me that, you know, even after the results came out and even when it was about to turn, all the negative talk that came from, you know, 45, you know, and the fact that he wanted to demonize the people counting, he wanted to demonize the Postal Service, he wanted to demonize the system. I mean,
are we surprised though? I mean, he has always been. I mean, he has been who he's always been, and this is just who he's always been. If it's not that way, I'm going to sue.
I don't know. You know, it's funny because we talked about it last week, and, you know, we've been talking about it every week about, you know, how we're getting ready for this thing to happen, regardless of who you wanted to win. You know, I wanted Kanye to win. So let's just be honest. But
this shot is shot, man.
But the thing is, we got to witness some really cool history. You know, we're gonna have a woman in the White House, and it's not going to be the first lady. You know, we're going to have a woman of color. You know, yeah. You know,
yes.
and the thing is, I was listening to their acceptance speeches yesterday, and hearing Miss Harris simply say, "I am the first, but I won't be the last," is just the most amazing thing ever. You know, I mean, I have daughters. You know. And I have daughters who are daughters of color, and they get to see somebody who in some way looks like them. That's awesome. And we have an advocate in Joe Biden, you know, regardless of what, you know, maybe he wasn't your candidate, but you can't argue that he's not an advocate for us. And he's not going to, you know, I do believe that he's going to do right. I'm not going to say he's going to, like, you know, look, I'm not, because I'm already seeing it. People are saying like, oh, everything's just going to be perfect now. No, nothing's.
Oh my God. This was not a vote that racism ended. Racism is still there.
Racism didn't end.
It hasn't left.
When
it is a collective moment to breathe.
Yeah. That's it. Look, yeah. That's
the fight still fights. The work still continues. But my God.
And you know what? You can't exaggerate that. I mean,
no.
I live in the DMV. I live right in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia. And I was driving around this morning and you felt it. You felt the fresh air. Like what's funny is the day before and days, you know, prior, there weren't as many American flags that you saw out. This morning, American flags out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like, and you know, and I even saw it on social media too. I saw a lot of on TikTok, I saw a lot of individuals who, and like soldiers, and you know, come out and say now they feel ready to put the flag out because they feel like now is a time where they can be patriotic, you know. And I can sense that, you know. I'm not a soldier, but you know,
you just play one on TV. Hey,
I play something else. But you know, I definitely there's some fresh air out there, man. And I was working in DC yesterday. We're recording Sunday night, and on Saturday I was in DC, literally like 3 blocks away from the White House. And the moment they called it, DC erupted. I mean, we heard honking, we heard screaming in the good way. They were singing in the streets, literally dancing in the streets. People with their masks on were marching to Pennsylvania Avenue, going to Black Lives Matter Avenue, and just celebrating. And one thing that I saw on social media too was, you know, and I'm paraphrasing. So it was said that don't live your life to have people dance in the street when you're fired.
Yes, I saw that too. Yeah, again, that's the celebrate. That is so unfortunate that it's a celebrate that people came out against him, you know, and not just came out. I mean, here is a win he can claim, that he had more people come out to take him down. I mean, you're a winner there, dude. Claim it. You're number one of the ones we don't want.
I mean, look, in politics, I mean, he had an impact, you know, good or bad. You can literally automatically say it was bad, but you could also say for his base, he created a resurgence for his base, and his people did go out and vote. I mean, you can't argue that. The election,
a whole lot more than I ever thought would.
Yeah,
the election. I thought he was going to get it. Honestly,
yeah, the election wouldn't have been that close if he
it really wasn't that close. It's the Electoral College that was close, which I think we need to go ahead. Let's go ahead and get rid of it.
We get that, but and what the way we play now, the sandbox that we play in now, even though we don't want to be in that sandbox. The reason why it was close is because you have to give credit to 45. I mean, he did do what he had to do. Did he do enough? No. But, you know, that's just say you made your bed, you sleep in it. So all I know is we got a new president-elect, a new vice president-elect, and it's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And
I am so looking forward. I'm so looking forward to see how they do the inaugural ball, because it won't be as big as the last one, I hope, if we're got any sense. But I am expecting I'm genuinely expecting. I hope it's not going to be as big as it was because of the times that we're in. However, I am really looking forward to the Divine Nine showing up and showing out and supporting their girl, because I am super excited and happy to see the first woman, the first African American, and the first Asian American in that position. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And
look, I'm excited to see the first dude. All right. Or the second dude. Second male? Second man?
You know what? Maybe we should just give him a title.
All I know is I'm hopeful for 2021, and like I said before, I am hopeful that this can be a bridge to what we want. Nothing's over. Tons of work to do. But let this be the momentum, especially for Indian country. Let this be the momentum. Let this be that momentum that we continue to get natives in Congress.
6. We haven't even touched on that.
No, not at all.
3 times as many natives. We can actually have a Native American caucus in the House and actual natives be there. I mean, we'll put it to the side that 3 of them are Republican and 3 of them are Democrat. You know what? That's great. It shows the diversity and the breadth and width of Indian country. I am just I was like, what? I was looking at that and going, holy smokes, this is amazing. Exactly. This is awesome. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Bring my level back down, because that was more exciting to me. I was like, I can't believe, I'm so excited to actually have people who look like us and think like us and who have a genuine understanding of where we come from and all the different ways that we come. Because again, Indian country is not a monolith. It's not we are very diverse, and we've always been diverse. And there's not just a single native or a single Indian. So I am genuinely excited to see all 6 of them moving in on the first day, and just, they get nothing done. I'm still happy they're there. I know that they'll get things done, because these last 2, Representative Davids and Representative Holland, were in and everything.
Yeah.
Everything, doing everything. I don't know when they slept.
Well, even those 6, you see the diversity of Indian in those 6.
There's 3 Republicans, 3 Democrats, 3 men, 3 women. If anything, Native people really achieve balance. And I can help you achieve balance, friends, is if you're watching what you're eating. And one thing you can do to watch what you eat is to enjoy foods that are good for you, dare I say, such as Magic Spoon. On average, Americans eat about 100 bowls of cereal a year. Kids are one of the largest consumers. And what are they eating? Sugar. Just sugar. Magic Spoon gives you all the flavors and nostalgia of your childhood without the guilt. It's grain-free, gluten-free, low-carb, high-protein, 0 grams of sugar per serving, and absolutely delicious. They have all the flavors. They have a seasonal box. I talked about this last time. Let me tell you, there is cinnamon, apple cinnamon, which I am a kind of girl who just likes to open 1 box at a time and not have 3 or 4 boxes of cereal open. However, I open that salted caramel, I open that cocoa, I put them in a bowl together, and yes, mine was made. So if this sounds good to you, listeners of the podcast can get free shipping on their next order of Magic Spoon. All you have to do is go to magicspoon.enter the promo code WRONG Indian Podcast. That's the word wrong, the letters NDN Podcast, and get free shipping. Get the shipping on us, and make sure that you check out Magic Spoon. Again, that is WRONG NDN Podcast is the promo code, magicspoon.com.
Get yourself some free shipping. And just in case you didn't hear the broken Wi-Fi coming from Brittany, that's WRONG Indian Podcast. That's the word wrong, the letters NDN Podcast. Go get yourself some free shipping. Before we move on to our next topic, though, I do want to give a big shout out. We've been big fans of them for a long time. We got to have a collaboration by having an interview this year, and that's Urban Native Era. I mean, Urban Native Era claps to you, snaps to you, all the la la las, everything, the wee, everything. Everything.
Oh my gosh.
All the blessings to Urban Native Era. I mean, you know, they're definitely setting a standard by showing representation and sharing that representation. And today they put out a top 15 podcast that you should support, made by Indigenous people. And we were one of them. We were on it. We appreciate it. We made a list. We made a list. And you know what? It's already been felt. I mean, it hasn't even been a full day and we've gotten followers. So if we have new followers, you're listening to us now. Thank you. Thank you for joining the Wrong Indian Podcast. Thank you for joining our community. We hope that, we can brighten up your day and hopefully bring some content that you want. And if it's not the content that you want, let us know.
It'll be something else.
It'll definitely be something else for sure. But, big shout out to Urban Native Era for doing what they're doing. And, there's other organizations out there who are doing it as well. And that's amazing. That's good stuff. I mean, that's showing that, guess what, guys?
Go out. Oh, okay.
It just shows that something else has something to say. We have content to make and we have things that we're doing and we all need to support each other because no matter what we do, anything, a podcast, fashion design, art, politics, just creating pogo sticks. I don't care. Anything we do, there's plenty of room in the sea for Indian country. So let's all unite together. And thank you, Urban Native Era, for the shout out that you did today. We really appreciate that.
So I wanted to talk about this.
Oh my God. Look, guys, I don't know what I'm walking into. I saw show notes and I'm like,
he saw them, but he ain't read them. He didn't read the show notes because he's not prepared. But no. So on the Breakfast Club, the rapper Reason, he was talking about it was a really good interview. I actually love watching the Breakfast Club. They're hilarious and their interviews are dope. So he was relationships and he made the comment, men should get credit for being faithful because it's different for men than it is for women. And maybe if women gave faithful men more credit, it would give them more incentive to not cheat. Now, I want to, I'm not a man. I have thoughts. I have opinion.
We all know we have opinions.
Oh, I mean, yes. So I just want to run this up your flagpole and see if this is something you could get behind. Does this make sense? Does it ring true in your world, or is this a thing? Do you think that men should get credit for not cheating? Get credit for not cheating?
First of all, I don't know why it needs to be a flagpole.
Well, it's very phallic.
Do I feel that men should get credit for not cheating? No. I mean, no. I mean, look, men or women, we all shouldn't be getting credit for not cheating. Look, the conversation it's unique. I mean, you can look at it many ways. You can look at it just how you feel in general, or I've even listened to conversations about culture and how cheating or just having open relationships is a part of indigeneity too. That's been our way has never been to be with one person our entire lives. That's just one angle, one conversation, one opinion, one perspective. For me, no, I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. Sorry, lady.
The thing is for me, you don't have to cheat if you don't want to be with that person, or if you want to be with that person. All it takes is a conversation to say, hey, are you down for this? As a consenting adult, and them as a consenting adult can go yes, no, or whatever. And you as a consenting adult can go yes, no, or whatever. There's no need to cheat. If you want to, If you want to jump in the river of all the things that are out there, by all means, go jump. But if you're entering into a monogamous relationship where you've had a conversation with your partner that we are going to be monogamous, then why do you want to cheat? That doesn't make sense. That those two things don't make sense in my head, because again, it's not about whether cheating is bad or wrong for me. It's about you made a decision, so it's your decision. And if at any point you want to go back on it, that's totally up to you. I don't think we, especially in this day and age, have to cheat. You don't have to cheat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and so for him to talk about it that way, and he did talk about, men go through a hoe phase, and, that it's different because men are much more physical. But so I had the same conversation with my husband. He's like, yeah, no, that's not a thing.
No. And that's
not a thing.
I mean, that's straight up sexist too. I mean, to think that, women don't have the same feelings,
urges and needs. I mean,
Yeah.
and the other thing is,
ridiculous.
and this is what another friend of mine, because this just kind of blew me out of the water. But another friend of mine pointed out, he's like, for you as a guy to think, oh, I cheat because this girl's looking at me. Your wife or partner probably gets hit on times as much as you do. I get hit up on looking beat up, not made up, not glammed up, not looking great. Beat up. I look ruined, and people hit on me.
Oh yeah.
So if I wanted to, options are there, but that's not what I want.
Yeah. And then, and I agree with what I saw. I saw on social media, there was a post I saw, basically talking about, that type of idea is like, that's immature stuff. Like, that's like kid stuff. That's boy stuff. The post I saw was, yeah, I'm tired of all that. How about we just grow together, earn our money, make our life, and let's be happy every day, and that's grown man stuff. That's grown people stuff. That's adulting.
Yeah, that is, because you don't, in a marriage, you choose to be with your partner every day. It's an active choice, and it's an active engagement every single day.
Yeah.
So I was like, what in the world are you talking about?
Yeah. Sorry, guys. No credit. Look, if you want some credit, here's the credit. If you have those urges and you want to act on those urges, then that just means that, hey, it's time for you to, either have an open conversation with your partner, or you weren't meant to be with that person. So,
That's fine.
The world keeps going. And what it also does.
Dun, dun, dun.
It also gives you the urges to take care of your body.
Look at you with a good transition.
And one way you can take care of your body is through our partners at FNX Fit. That's right. FNX Fit. FNX Fit is committed to creating innovative supplements of the highest quality that provide focus for producing very productive mornings, energy to give you all day, the performance supplements to reach your new goals, unique sleep and recovery formulas to support any sport, and healthy supplement to oh my God. Who wrote this?
You did.
The YouTube, they're looking at me. Look, guys, I'm gonna tell you the truth. FNX Fit, they're our partners. They're a supplement company, and they have the tools you need to take care of your body. If you're interested in taking care of your body, woo, that's a baby screaming in the back. See, we're a family show.
High quality studio locations.
Exactly. Look, guys, if you guys are interested in getting some supplements that you guys need to help get you through your day, like for me, I like to have recovery. I like to be able to work out and work hard all day and be able to take a supplement that'll keep me going the very next day. And you can get that through our partners at FNX Fit. And you know what? Guess what? We got a promo code for you, and it's simple. It's Wrong Indian. Use Wrong Indian, get 15% off on any supplement at their website. What's their website? fnxfit.com. Check them out. You guys don't have to listen to anything we say other than just use your own sense. Go check it out. Go to fnxfit.com. Look at their supplements. We're telling you that we've used them. We like them. I have one right here. I have their creatine right here that I use. Okay. I have their water bottle that I use every day to keep me hydrated. All I'm trying to tell you is our partners at FNX Fit. Check them out. 15% off. You guys like percentages? You like saving money? I do. I'm cheap. I'm cheap. So
and it's 15. It's not 10. It's 15% off. I mean, that's nothing like that. What's that promo code again?
That's more than taxes, people. Okay, so look, it's Wrong Indian. That's it. It's the word Wrong NDN. Go to fnxfit.com. Use our promo code, the Wrong Indian, and get yourself some supplements. I mean, they got everything for men, women. They might even have stuff in there to, make you not want to cheat.
Yeah, and when you support our sponsors, you're also supporting the podcast. So again, thank you so much.
Ultimately, I mean, I know we go through what every podcast goes through, and we're sharing our partners. But the reason why we do that is because we like doing what we're doing. We like to be able to keep creating this content, and this is one way that we can.
Would you dare say it's entering in our new segment? What makes us happy?
What is making me happy? I'll tell you what's making me happy. What made me happy. And, we just talked about it, and maybe I'm just cheesy. I don't know, but it was just something. I really felt like I was in a surreal moment that I was working. And by the way, I'm working at a job where I feel I'm doing a lot of important work, not only for just Indian country in general, but for my own tribe as well. I really feel like every day when I wake up, I'm doing some really good work. And so being able to work on a weekend in DC, and then I hear the streets just erupt with joy. And I'm hearing people high-fiving each other. My wife went out to Pennsylvania Avenue, and she saw children hugging cops, people singing in the streets. That's what literally made me happy. Hearing all the songs I was hearing. I mean,
FDT. My husband literally, I forget where he went, and he had went to his office, and he was coming back, and Central, this main strip in Albuquerque where all the cruising happens, filled. I mean, it was bumper to bumper. Everyone's honking, everyone's dancing, and he is just bumping that in the truck.
I mean, everything, man. And then what wrapped it all up for me too was that after hearing all the music and people singing and just being joyous, is that I was able to go home and then hear the election speeches from Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And then after that, before I went to bed, because I couldn't sleep because I'm so exhausted that I can't even sleep. I got on social media, and you see people's reactions, from the Black Lives Matter movement, and people saying, how Black women and the Black vote truly moved this vote this year to
absolutely
to something else, to that the Native vote came out. I mean, the Native vote came out. The Mexican vote came out, Hispanic, Latinx, whatever you want to label it. But minorities came out and voted in droves. That in itself makes me happy. And it makes me hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was 2016, there were more people who didn't vote or who were suppressed from voting than chose either one of the candidates.
Yeah.
So to see the margins of, and on both sides. No, but really to see the margins of how many people showed up to overlay those maps and recognize that it was Indigenous peoples all over who showed up. That was beautiful and wonderful.
And you know what? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you.
It's okay. We do that a lot. I mean, I do it a lot. I know I do.
Yeah, I'm actually just being humble. You do it a lot. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, it is what it is. Wait, finish, because I was going to transition to something else. So if you want to continue being happy.
I am. And you know what? Look, and maybe you can just say that it's a this is just political talk, or it's talking points or something. But for me, I don't care. I believe it. I believe it in me, and this is the way I want to live moving forward. And I'm ready for your eye roll. That
that will come because my eyes be rolling.
What makes me happy is the idea that we can hopefully end this whole idea of constantly being a red state or a blue state, and let us be just the damn United States.
Can we get some ranked choice voting and eliminate the Electoral College? That would be great. We got 4 years. We got plenty of time. You know what else? I did see someone else. Now, this is a great strategy because if you're looking at the Senate, and you could tell if you're not a political nut, we're a little political nuttish. But if you're looking at the Senate, it's 8 Democrats, 48 Republicans. So a great strategy for President Biden. And I'm giving him the free. So you take this, President-elect Biden, take this and move with it. If he pulled one of those Republican senators and moved him into his cabinet from a Democratic governor state, and then the Democratic governor can put a more liberal leaning Democrat, I would hope, in there. And look, it's now 49, 47. Math. I can't math, but I know there'll be one more. There's your strategy. Take it, use it.
Simple, ridiculous pleasures. One thing I can look forward to is that we might have a nationwide Indigenous Peoples Day. We're definitely going to get. I know every day.
No. I was going to say, wait, are we getting our month back?
Yeah.
Can we now have Native American? No, I'm sorry. Can we now have something else month?
Yeah.
American Heritage Month.
And then I'm also happy that Barack Obama's portrait's going to be put up in the White House.
It should be.
I know. I mean,
that's lame. That's just so lame.
Pleasure.
You know what? Petty. I will give 45 his dues. Kool-Aid is the king of petty.
Look, there's going to be a pet in the house again.
Yeah, to poop on it. I don't care. I mean, I have a dog. I love my dog.
I'm talking just petties. I'm talking just silly, dumb things that are going to come back. We're gonna get a pet in the house. We might get 2. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Call me naive. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I'm going to go to inauguration. I get to go. I'm going to go to my first inauguration.
Really? You've never been?
No.
Oh.
Mm-mm.
Well, I went when my mom was on council. So I was a youngin'.
Look at her. See how she said it? When my mama was on council.
I know. Daddy, council campaign man is not talking.
Listen,
we are both the children of tribal chair people.
And I love them for it. I love them for it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So anywho, what was I going to say? Making us happy. I'm actually really happy. My homework was easy this week.
There you go.
I mean, serious. I did not spend 6 hours trying to figure out 2 problems. That was beautiful. Wonderful. We're in probability and I kind of sort of get probability. I can't tell you that I know why. I can't tell you that I know how. I just am in the moment of I can regurgitate the numbers go there and there. I don't know why they go there. I don't know how they go there. I just know that this number goes here, and that gives me my answer. And that's all I'm trying to figure out. You know what else?
There.
You know what else is making me very, very happy? And it is hilarious. My son he's 2 and he's, in the process of saying words and things, really figuring out how to speak. So we watch Jurassic World Cretaceous Park. It's on Netflix. This is his show. The boy loves this show. He loves it. And literally the beginning starts with I can't say it. It's an Indominus Rex, the new dinosaur they've created in this park, which looks like a T-Rex / like a raptor / like another dinosaur. He's got the little vestigial arms. Anyway, he comes busting through the gate and goes, rawr, rawr. And my son makes that. I know what they're doing. They're watching that show right now, and he makes that noise at the beginning every time. He just goes straight.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It brings me so much joy.
You know what's bringing me joy right now is the idea that we're going to transition to our interview. And our interview,
which was a great interview that we both enjoyed.
Oh my God, this interview's so good. I just loved it. And look, I said it last year. I'm going to say it right now. I mean, I don't have enough time in the day. I mean, I wish I could have done. I mean, can we just create a third host and just get it? Wrong NDN Podcast Season 3, third host. I don't know. Maybe I'm just. Who knows? Look,
hey! Tell us in the comments if you're interested.
Well,
we'll
let us
audition
know.
You.
Our next guest is Dr. Lee Francis of Red Planet Books and Comics, and for me, he's just an amazing individual. He's just awesome. He's funny. He's great. You're gonna hear it. I mean, he has so many cool things to say. And guess what, guys? He's the only native comic book store in the world. Only. It's
relaunched. Did a relaunch of their logo and the website. Go check it out. They're open, but you have to be in Albuquerque and you have to make an appointment. So make sure that you check out their website. They have some really cool things, lots of interesting comics, books, anything you want to read. I mean, it's not just comics anymore. Old Red Planet Books and Comics.
No, and the things we talk about too. I mean, look, spoiler, we pre-recorded. I mean, the things we talk about with him is awesome. I think for me, the whole conversation about correct me on the term. What is it? Indigenous realism? Futurisms. Indigenous futurisms. If you guys are not familiar with this concept, and forget, I'll be honest, I really wasn't. It blew my mind because it's true. It's so true. Check it out, guys. It's Dr. Lee Francis, Red Planet Books and Comics.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye.
Bye. I got to turn this button off. Oh, it's the big red button that says end broadcast. Welcome back to another segment of the Wrong NDN Podcast. I'm Kenrick Escalante.
And I'm Brittany Shulman.
We'd like to welcome you back to our series, Natives Do What? Where we interview natives with interesting jobs. And our guest today is a friend of the show. He was featured in season 1. He is often called the Stan Lee of Indian Country. And he is the owner of the only Indigenous comic book shop in the world. I will repeat that. He is the only Indigenous comic book shop in the world. If you're not in Albuquerque and you want to see his shop, we filmed him last year at his shop called the Red Planet Books and Comics in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You can see that on our YouTube channel. Lee Francis, welcome back to the show.
And here's my profile. This is lovely. Thank you for the introduction. Oh man, thank you guys for having me back. This is so awesome. I'm glad we can do this.
I love it. And
I'm just happy that I'm involved,
Oh my gosh. I love Kenrick's sense of false modesty that he shows. But before we get started,
I'm just saying we had a great YouTube
it was great. Yeah, it was. It was wonderful.
It was awesome, but I was the man behind the camera, so you couldn't
By choice, though. Let's be real honest.
Somebody has to handle the camera. So it was you. It was brilliant. It was beautiful, and I love any time where people get to see like the awesomeness that is my shop. I love my shop, and I love to share it out with folks. So that was fantastic.
So as you may have noticed, we have changed a few things since the last time we met. You know, like, ooh, look, we got pretties everywhere. But we also have a new segment called This or That. Little game we like to play with our guests where we just get to know you a little better. You know, we're going to give you two choices, and then you just tell us which one you prefer. So we're going to start real simple, real easy, and it's going to get real deep later. So the first one.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Sweet or salty?
Salty, especially after like our Halloween. Yes, and for the sacredness that we were discussing earlier, and also because I just came off. It's October, so it's sugar all the time. So I'm feeling salty right now, both in my taste and both in my personality.
Hey, that's hilarious. So fiction or nonfiction?
That's a tough one. Right now I'm going to say nonfiction, simply because that's kind of where I'm trending toward. This one goes back and forth a lot, but at this particular moment right now, it's nonfiction. I just picked up a book on, I think it won like the National Book Award around the history of the Gulf of Mexico, and the American side of it. I'm really enjoying it. Non-native writer, but I mean, he brings in native history and he brings in the folks, you know, like the whole way. And it's supposed to be an environmental book, but like, it's also just like how humans have not only changed coastlines and sea lines and the climate, but how we're kind of dealing with all of it. So I'm nonfiction right now. I'm nonfiction.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. Netflix or Hulu?
Shoot. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Netflix for right now. I watch a lot of Hulu mostly because of live TV, not because of anything else. But Netflix has my favorite comedy stuff. I listen to a lot of comedy at night. That's what I fall asleep to. I like to laugh when I'm falling asleep. So Netflix for my choice for my final answer. Netflix.
All right.
There you go.
So here we go.
Oh, we lost Brittany. Where is she?
We
going?
lost Brittany. My camera's been honky all day long. But I'm going to go ahead and ask the question because.
Okay, let's do it. Keep going. Yeah, we got this.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel. That's an easy one.
I love that.
I really enjoy me some DC. I've grown up with both. I'm not going to like say whatever, but Marvel was. I mean, I was a Marvel kid to begin with. Marvel is the direction that I went with. Right. Growing up, I followed Thor, I followed Iron Man, and I'm an Iron Man guy. So like, if I got to pick one of the big four, it's going to be Iron Man. So, and that's out of Marvel. I like DC, but
really thought you were going to say DC because I've seen your.
Don't get me. I mean, I love it. Like
Superman and Flash.
The thing about DC is the iconography. Like DC really locked down the iconography for like logos. Right. I mean, if you think about like logo style, like Superman, Batman, Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, man, they got the lock on the iconography. Marvel has the like kind of that lock on the stories because they set them in the world that we live in. Right. So it's like Spider-Man lives in, comes from, Brooklyn, Cap comes from Queens. Iron Man comes from wherever Tony Stark comes from. I know where he comes from, but I'm just like, oh my God, whatever retcon he's working in, right? So we can always look at these particular characters, and I was like, that's what I've always followed since I was a kid.
Sweet.
Yep.
And then I agree. I just wanted to point out because like for me, like when it comes to DC, like I love the villains of DC, but like
they're great. They're really well drawn. Yep.
Yeah, but when it comes to Marvel, I mean, their storytelling is that's what's epic.
Well, I feel like that as children of the 80s, that Marvel was really shining coming through. If you weren't just the comic book fan, you were also watching like X-Men, Saturday morning cartoons. So I really feel like they were shining in our era, not to date us at all.
Well, I'll give a bit of a caveat though, because I mean, I watched most of that stuff, but Batman, the animated series is still probably one of the best cartoons that's ever been made, right? The animated, the Batman, the BAS is literally like that in my mind is the gold standard of animated cartoon stuff. And I love the other stuff. Don't get me wrong, man. I watched all the X-Men, I watched the Spider-Man, I watched all that stuff. But the Batman animated series was like the voice acting was amazing. the storylines, they were one-off storylines, but then they had some interconnected ones. They did some of the longer versions, you know, so I will say that that's where, like, I think DC, you know, one of the things that DC has done, hands down, has really been able to capitalize on the TV market, right? Like they know they're built more. I think the company and the way the storytelling is really built more to be episodic, whereas Marvel is really built to be, you know, melodramatic in the best way, right? The grandness of Marvel, which is why once the technology caught up to the storytelling with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's why it's been so dominant. Whereas DC has not quite been able to reach that level. I mean, some of them have been really good. I've enjoyed, I'll say 50% of them. But I think that's where they were really able to, you know, to captivate the imagination, is they used the grandness, changing tone and creating this whole beautiful melodramatic universe. But DC is like the king of television. I mean, you know, Flash, Arrow, Batman, you know,
they own the CW.
The CW, and all of them are good. But even going back, right, when it was the WB, with Smallville was, that particular formulaic template is absolutely phenomenal. I was like, it's monster of the week until you build the characters up enough, and then you start having a narrative arc. So every first season that you look at with anything that DC runs on TV is a monster of the week. And then you've brought the characters in enough, and now you're really interested. Now you can start having the love interest and the love triangle and the, you know, all the interconnections once you get out of season one. And usually everybody hands down is like, man, Arrow seasons 2 through 5 are fantastic. Smallville, you know, all the way through season. I mean, like, they start to taper off at the end, but most American television does that anyway, so I don't hold that against them. But that's, you know, Gotham, same thing. Gotham took a little while to pick up. Supergirl has been, I mean, like, they have like really capitalized on that because they know how to do episodic telling, which is really what DC has always been good at. DC's alt-verse stuff is absolutely hands down some of the best stuff that you can read. You know, Red Sun, you know, Superman, All-Star Superman, any of the Batman Chronicles any of the Batman stuff is always like an alt-verse because it's Batman, you know. You know, so anyway, listen, I'm sorry. I'm a nerd out on you if you're going to run that one. So
this is exactly why we have you here.
Good Lord.
Which we do have one
trigger
more.
Warning. Nerd trigger warning. Sorry.
We do have one more this week.
Okay, let's do the last one.
This has been our most controversial, if you will.
Okay.
Indian taco or Navajo taco?
Indian taco. Sorry. I'm a Pueblo. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take option B, Pueblo taco. Shut up. It's a Pueblo taco from where I come from. What?
No.
So is it on oven bread? I just want to understand.
That's the best way to do it. Pueblos represent. No, but here's the thing. I'll separate out. It's got to be NDN taco. It can't be Indian taco. It has to be NDN taco. So exactly. I'm just gonna say, shout out to Wrong Indian right there. I got you. I got you guys.
Like that? That's called branding.
That's called branding.
I love it. Okay, so before we get a little deeper into the whole arc that is Lee Francis, how about you? Can you share with us just a little bit more personally, not your as an entrepreneur, but you personally, Lee Francis? Tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. So yeah, my family on my dad's side is from the Pueblo of Laguna, from the village of Pewati from way back. They moved down to main village outside of Laguna proper, and then they moved out to Cabero but I'm an urban kid. I'm a suburban Indian, right? Like I grew up because my dad worked for the feds and he worked for university systems. So I actually grew up on both coasts. I grew up outside of DC, go Nats. And I grew up in Southern California because that's where my dad was working. Every summer we'd come back home, we'd hang with my grandma. So I kind of I had that sort of home recognition, but like a lot of us, you know, very much displaced from the homeland, right? Like I got a little of it, but I didn't grow up directly at home. I was a theater kid, you know, that's what I did for most of my time. I love theater. I love performing. You know, I love writing. So writing was always part of my background. And then, I got involved in education, kind of, you know, through, I won't say happenstance, but I started doing workshops, writing workshops here at home in New Mexico. So I was out on the res. I was out working, like Navajo country and that's Pueblos and stuff like that. And then I went and worked for BIA. This was in my 20s, and I worked for BIA. And my dad called me back, called me up. I was working for BIA, and I was like, man, I don't know if I can kick with this government thing anymore. Like, these people are crazy. and my pops was like, why don't you come home? I'm starting this class out at Laguna Acoma High School. It's a Laguna history and culture class. And that's actually what got me back home, working at home. So I actually was working, at home in my home community with my people. I was teaching our history and culture from Laguna. So I got to catch up on a lot of stuff that I kind of knew peripherally, but didn't know intimately. And now I know very intimately. I'm just like, oh, here's the whole history of our community, our tribe, and our people, right? From way back. And so I did that for about, I want to say about 7, 8 years. My kiddo was born. I wanted to move back into town. I was closer to Albuquerque. I couldn't kind of, it's a long drive out to Laguna commuting. So I was like, I didn't want to be spending an hour and 45 minutes on the road when I could spend that hour and 45 minutes with him instead. So I came back, started working at Native American Community Academy, working education. All during that time, I had finished it. Exactly. Go Naka. During that time when I was working at Laguna, I had finished my master's degree in education. And while I'm teaching all my kids, when I was at Naka, I was like teaching college prep. And while I was there, I was like, I should go back to college too. So that was kind of, I was there for about a year. And then I was like, I got accepted into a PhD program at Texas State University to work with a mentor of mine, which is why I ended up at Texas State, in education and focusing on Native education. And during that weird time that I was doing that, because I was in school full time, I mean, I had a job and I was like, but it was a kind of distance job and, whatever. But I was like, we should start this publishing company. We should start publishing Native comics, because I met the incomparable Aragon Starr out in Western Carolina at an amazing event that was hosted at the time by the just immortal Robert Conley, Cherokee writer, scholar, author, amazing. And she and I just hit it off. We're like, we should do something. We're both nerds. She had just started at that point. She had I think Super Indian was maybe a year or two deep. She had already done the radio play, but she had just started drawing. So she was, it was pretty early in the time period that she was doing Super Indian and getting it out online. And so we were like, we should do something kind of cool with this. We should make a comic or something. Right. So we created the first comic, and then I was like, we should keep publishing. We should it's not just the grouping of people. The people can group together, but we need to get more of the stuff out. So I started publishing comics, and that's where Native Reality started.
Nice.
So we started throwing, I was like, we really need to get Native. We need to get more books out there in the world, because Native folks are just not represented. Right. And especially as when I was teaching, I remember there just weren't and I grew up on comics, and I love comics still. I still love Iron Man. I still love, we can still love our favorite superheroes, but I was like, it'd be really nice to see a Native superhero in, en masse. I mean, prior to that, what you had Tribal Force, and you had Scout, really, by Native writers, and not say the Marvel stuff that was always kind of hit or miss, but never drawn or written by Native people. Right. And Native centric by Native people. So I know that there are, some folks that have been a part of it that are really, part of the community now, but not necessarily Native folks within that space. So, so we set out to change that. I set out to change that. So I founded that, jumped into starting a Comic-Con, opened up a bookshop. But, my background really was always around, I guess, informal education. The whole point was, how do we change these perceptions? Because these perceptions are so ingrained in the American consciousness around Native people existing as, feathers and, food, feathers, and fun, right? And especially as a Pueblo kid, whenever I had to see that, I was like, I totally respect my plains brothers and sisters, my northern brothers and sisters, right? But I don't look like that. I don't ride a horse. I don't wear a headdress. I don't do that stuff. We do different things, and we're all allowed to do that. But Americanized pop culture, and global global pop
Yes.
culture does not
Totally
recognize us like that. And that's really what I set out to change. So yeah, that's how I started. I'm still a big nerd. I still love comics and games and creating all sorts and technology. I've always been like a huge technophile. My dad was a huge I had a computer when I was 6 years old, 5 years old. I had a TRS-80 in my house. TRS-80 from Radio Shack, son.
Wow.
TRS-80.
Was your wall big enough for?
I mean, dude, it was huge. Like I got myself like a big old, like, I don't know, it's a 20-some inch screen over here that I do media work on. I was like, man, this reminds me of my childhood. This is about the size of the monitor at the time or at least the box that I had at the time, right?
Right.
Wow.
So, and the dot matrix printer, because my dad was a technophile, so we had the dot matrix. So he worked his dissertation on the dot matrix printer. Now, dissertation is 300 pages. My dad was one of those crazy people that liked to print multiple copies so that he could do edits. So our house just sounded like this. That's how my house sounded all night, because he'd just turn it on at night and then go to bed. And so it'd be 3 hours of that every night while he was printing his dissertation. I was like, dude, you're a crazy person. He's like, yep.
So the Francis house was War Games.
We pretty much, I'm in like with the thing over here. Would you like to play a game? One of the earliest memories I have with my pops is him. Well, not earliest memories, but like one of my midlife memories, my junior high memories is that I blue screened to death our computer.
Oh my God.
Probably one of the maddest I've ever seen my dad. Like, he was so upset, but he was like computer upset. He wasn't like angry upset, like you're pissing me off upset. He was just kind of like, you will never touch this again. Like, he's like, you just need to leave right now. Like, my dad also was really like conscientious about backing everything up. So fortunately we had a backup. But yeah, I totally blue screened the computer, and he was so upset. He was so mad. My kid did the same thing. Like, you can't blue screen as much anymore, but he reset one of our boxes where he was trying to fix it, went through and reset it. And he still remembers it because I was so upset. I was like, dude, call me in. This is not for you to try and fix right now. You're 8. You don't have this yet. So yeah.
Hey, so I mean, you touched on it. You hold on. I think I just look at me in technology. I just hit Siri right now. Siri's like trying to tell me something. Anyway, so you touched on it. You started with the development of the comic books, right? And then you wanted to start doing your own publishing. And this is where leads into my next question is, then you started Indigenous Comic Book, your store. Yeah. So where did you find it necessary that you felt that you needed to have a physical store? And how did it get started?
It's a great story because it came from multiple angles, which is, I love telling the story because it wasn't just like this driving entrepreneurial necessity. It was kind of a physical necessity, because coming off of the Comic-Con and the stuff that we've been publishing, I was running out of room here at the home office. Like, essentially I'm putting, 800 pounds of books in the shop, and now after coming off the Comic-Con, I've got all these banners and flags and everybody else's books and posters and like everything else that we got from the Comic-Con, which was super awesome. But I was like, my wife was like, you don't have to find another place for this. And I was like, you're right. We got to find another place for this because it's starting to spill out in the hallway. I got no room to move around. So there was a physical necessity, right? There was also, the wanting to keep the party going. I don't know what that necessity is called, but after we came off the first Comic-Con, I started to really look around and think, this is great, but we're only doing it once a year. And we're publishing what we publish, but I just had the one website for our stuff. But there were so many Native creatives that I got to meet and engage in and enjoy that I really wanted to bring their work, into the fold, right? I wanted to be able to make sure that they had a spotlight and a home where anybody could come in at the time. So we found a space. We've been working with Southwest Organizing Project here in Albuquerque. During the Comic-Con, we had like a little 10x10 office where we had like dumped everything into a closet. And again, it was like trying to walk around. It was like, all right, watch out for that. Don't try not to step on that. Like, that's what we had, right? So it was just this mess. And right around the corner was an open shop. I'm always one of those guys entrepreneurially. I look at anything where I see like an open shop. I was like, I wonder what I could put there. Not that I want to do that, but I was like, I wonder if I could open up a taco stand, or I wonder if I could open up like an
Indian taco stand?
At NDN, baby. Branding. So,
Love it.
So, or like, I'll just be like, I wonder if I could open up a facial cream store, like weird stuff like that. That's what goes through my brain. I was just like, I wonder if that would make it. Cause I always just I like the vibrancy of cities in many ways, right? Like, or markets. I like the vibrancy of a marketplace. And maybe that's an old DNA thing, or me growing up in the suburbs and going to malls when I was a kid. I don't know. But that vibrancy of a marketplace has always, been so dynamic for me, right? So it was like, well, here's a place that we can open up a shop, and next door Swap's got their open space, and then there's a salon, and then there's an architect. So like our little corridor, our little corner, trying to say well, what can we do with this, right? So there was that, right? And that need to say how do we keep the party going? And finally, just creating a headquarters for all of this, where people could find this stuff, and building the brand off of the fact that we're the only ones that carry these kinds of works constantly, consistently, where we source this out from Native folks, where we try and find these things so that people can find them, right? Because what I also noticed as part of the industry was not just the fact that we're not getting enough Native books into Native hands, right? Our kids are not, and the range of that. Because what I saw working at Naka, and what I saw is the kids start to get really bored, right? Because they don't have a range. What they had was really deep Indian literature. And please believe me, I love all of that. I know most of the Native writers that make the bestseller list. I think what they write is so incredible and so important for what we're doing. But it's intense, right? There's no doubting that they're there, Tommy's book, anything that Louise puts out. Those are intense books. And we're giving those to kids in high school. And that's right around the time, roughly. But some of that stuff is really early college reading, because it is really intense stuff. A lot of the theoretical frameworks are just not quite built into it. And then what do you do it in high school? Dude, I remember reading plenty of stuff in high school. It didn't reach to me, but that's really what I'm aiming towards, is that we need a range of things of Native writing that can appeal to a range of readers, from comic books to genre. I love mysteries. I love reading potboiler detective punchy stuff, right? So many of our relatives love reading the romance, right? So I started looking around and being where is, now you like the romance? You're good.
Kenrick's, yeah.
Brittany's on that, okay.
You hate rom-coms, man.
Y'all got it. But that's where I came into, was where is all of this stuff, and how do you find it? Because it's not privileged at bookstores. It's not privileged at Barnes & Noble. Where does our stuff show up? The Native section, unless you're fortunate enough to get on the bestseller list, and your name has to be Tommy Orange Louise Erdrich, right? And then you get moved up to the front. But all the rest of it goes back in a shelf in the back. And most of that then is surrounded by histories written by white people, okay? Yeah. So, and I've done that since I was young. I went into the bookstores looking for Native writing. I was looking for my dad's writing. I was looking for my relatives' writing. I was looking for friends that I knew, because I knew a lot of these writers. And I'd have to go all the way around to the back. You've got Robert Conley's work. Man, it's all the way around to the back. That stuff doesn't go up to the front. I wanted to create a bookstore where that stuff was always at the front, where you could always walk in and find our writing by our people about our lives and existence. And even the flip, where it's just a Native writer writing a romance novel that has nothing to do with Native folks. That's cool too. We get to do that, right? But I want to privilege Native writers in this space. And so, so the economic necessity developed in of saying, okay, well, we need to create this, because otherwise the industry is not going to pay attention to it. Yes. And that was one of the big impetuses for creating the bookstore. And it's hot right now because pop culture is hot. So it's hot to say we're the only Native comic shop in the world. And we still are, right? That's what we sell. And the last piece is to appeal to Native nerds. Native nerds don't have to read Native comics all the time. Native nerds get to read Black Panther and Iron Man and everybody else. But I will say that our mantra has been to privilege and position comics by either Native folks or creators of color or characters of color across the board, right? So I will say that we found our niche, we wanted to run that, and man, we get in some there's some really great books. Our shelves are fantastic right now. I wish everybody could come in. You can't, because everybody has the masks and everything else, but you can come in one at a time if you're in Albuquerque. But, right now I was like, we've been sort of stocking up during the pandemic, and I was looking around, like I went in, because I hadn't been in a couple of months, and we've been, my business partner, Aaron Cuffey, Montauk Shinnecock, so it was a native run company. He was in there, and he'd been pulling books through the pandemic. And I went at one point, I looked at the shelves, I was like, dang man, these shelves look great. And he's like, thank you. And I was like, really, the selection that we have is something that I can't find when I go to my local shops. And I love my local shops, but I can't find the same kind of stuff. And so for me, that was really, key when we started Red Planet Books and Comics.
Well, let's talk about, you hit on the diversity of books, or the diversity of writing that's out there. Let's talk about Indigenous Futurisms.
Oh, yeah.
Explain for our listeners who are not Indigenous what that is and why the heck we need more of it.
Oh, yeah, that's great. So Indigenous Futurisms is a term that was coined and formalized by Dr. Grace Dillon. She teaches at, I think, Portland State University. I think that's right. I don't know. I can't remember where everybody is. Anishinaabe scholar. She's amazing. She's one of the most genuine, incredibly knowledgeable people. And what she noticed was a lot of sort of the futurisms work that had been developing around the world with Afrofuturisms and whatnot. She realized that there was something very specific and necessary about formalizing and creating a theoretical framework around Indigenous Futurisms, which was very different. It's not science fiction. It's not Afrofuturisms. It's unique in and of itself. And I honestly, I'm sorry, I can't do this off the top of my head, but there's 6 functions that really define between 5 and 7 or 6 is what I want to formalize, around 6 functions that are really the core of what Indigenous Futurisms are. A lot of it having to do with like time travel and the slipstream. A lot of it having to do with like sustainability, pandemic, or like post-apocalyptic theoretical frameworks, et cetera. So there's a whole bunch. You can find a lot of it online. I won't quite go into it as much right now. But the essentialization of it is that Indigenous people exist in multi-time frames, and that we have existed in a post-apocalyptic state since 1492, because during that time frame, our people went from a 90%, 100% population to a 10% population, right? So we are essentially in The Walking Dead. What it really premises upon is the idea of being able to build hope for Indigenous communities to say that we survived, we are in this framework, and that we will continue on moving forward, whether it's in a dusty, the sort of post-apocalyptic Mad Max style where it's all gritty and dusty, and the natives are the only folks left, or they're trying to work through various spaces, or in ways in which time and space begin to manipulate, right? So that, this idea of a slipstream where natives are existing in all time, a cyclical type of time rather than a linear type of time. And I think the importance really comes down to that key factor, which is too much of pop culture has relegated or has focused on the fetishization of tragedy, of native tragedy, and the dead and dying Indian. Right. So it's either you're dying or you're already dead. And that's cool, because once you're dead and dying, then we can take all your stuff. And that's really this idea of the fulfillment of white supremacy, and manifest destiny, which is, and as pop culture developed in the Americas, when it featured native people, it was to fulfill that, right? And it was to be used to as propaganda, to basically, brainwash or subvert a consciousness of people that was like, oh yeah, these are all enemies, and we need to murder them all, because once we murder them all, then you guys get the land, right? And what Futurisms does is it flips that and says, 1, we're still here, we still survived, and 2, we're still going to be in the future, and you're not going to get rid of us. So, colonization happened, that's great, but we're still around, and there is, you're still going to have to reconcile that. You're still going to have to be a part of that. You're still going to have to focus on that, right? So I think that that's what Indigenous Futurisms really allows us to explore indigeneity in this type of a framework, with a little bit of space and science fiction and all the rest in there. So I think that's really what I guess the cliff notes, because it's so much deeper than that, and we can get into it, but it's just like, there's so much more to explore, and it's just really starting to really be like really fully explored. There's so many new native writers that are coming out doing some incredible work. So
yes, I just love I just love the notion that, all of because if my degree's in English, my bachelor's is in English. And so everything we ever read was the dead are dying, or the white man somehow becomes more Indian than the Indian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or maybe there's a Dave who just wants to be black, but we won't go there. We won't go there, Kenrick.
My God.
There's a white guy that just wants to be more native than the natives. So
I imagine that, like, right now, all I could see that popped up was a little asterisk and a C episode whatever for you guys on talking about that, like old style Marvel, like down at the bottom of the corner of the page. So that was genius. That was great. You just footnoted yourselves. It's fantastic.
Yes. It's hilarious. So, but yeah, so I really appreciate those narratives and those stories where, yes, we are. I mean, because heck, we are still here. Look, there's 3 of us right now.
Exactly.
Which is amazing. And then I was just having a conversation with someone the other day where they said that they were, the last Indian or something, or the last tribes, or they're the tribes that didn't move. I said, honey, we are from the East Coast. My people are from the East Coast. Like, yeah, we didn't move. 45 minutes, I can touch the Atlantic. We didn't move.
Right. Exactly. Right. We're still here. We're still present. Like that's the piece, and that our homelands are here. Maybe we did some things, but I think there's a key component, that comes into the way and also which that futurism is framed with that sort of hook towards science fiction, right? Because I think science fiction really allows us this pull to explore particular philosophies and frames, in a way that, gets at the humanity. Because the thing is, in so many of our instances, our humanity has been stripped from us. We have been mythologized or essentialized to such an extent that, like, well, we only exist as plains Indians,
or
right?
Exactly,
right? Or a butter maiden, or West Studi. Well, I love you, West Studi. I do. I love West Studi, but I'm also just like, I'll name drop. But that's it, right? That becomes the iconography. That's what's happened with native identity, right? And so I think that is that key of saying, like, futurism also peels back not only the future layers, but pulls them all the way back to say, that's not how we are. Or we can play off of those conventions, right? Or we can say that, the transference, you look at something like, what is it? Rebecca Roanhorse's, your authentic Indian experience trademark, right? As a brilliant modern exploration of the concept of Indian transference that showed up in Last of the Mohicans, the white guy being more Indian than the Indians, right? And then taking all of the Indian magic and carrying it forward, because I know you're dying and I will carry on for you, my Indian brother, right? I mean, like, that started in the 1800s. That's not new. But the way that we're able to explore it now has been because we can talk about technology, because we can talk about, VR, AR, all of this stuff like that. That's so compelling. So that's my piece on that.
So going back to what you were talking about, which is Indigenous Futurism, which is awesome. I really like that concept. Like, I'm not as familiar as you two are in that concept, where, like, this whole time we've been living this post-apocalyptic world of indigeneity, right? Since 1492, right? Like, we are currently in it, but it's not zombies. It's just, us trying to survive as indigenous people.
Right.
We mentioned off air that we're also even living in this 2.0 Indigenous Futurism because of the fact of COVID.
Right.
So my next question is, because we're living in these COVID times, I mean, first of all, how is it affecting you, your life, your everyday life, and how is it impacting your store as far as a negative or a positive? Yeah,
it's a little of both. I mean, obviously, I think with everybody, right? The struggle truly is real. For those of us, and I'm going to say this so deliberately, for those of us that have a conscience, right? Because there are people where the struggle is not real for them because they're not paying attention. They don't really care for whatever reasons. And they're all our relatives, and we say bless their hearts. But I think for those of us that have that conscience makes this very present, very real every single day. It means that whenever I see, it means I have COVID dreams. It means that I'm attuned to even watching television when a new show comes out, and I'm like, why are they not wearing masks?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, my
absolutely.
brain has flipped like that, right? And even when I am not wearing, there was a time I went into the shop just recently where it was like after hours, it was late. Our next door folks were still doing something. All I was trying to do was just run into the shop and run back out. I left my mask in the truck, and I walk in, and 4 people pour out, and I was like, "Oh my, I'm so sorry!" Like I'm literally apologizing. Like I'm so sorry, guys. I'm like covering my face. I'm like, I didn't expect you guys to be. I was just trying to like run into the shop and run back in, run back out of the truck. Like no one's supposed to be here. And they were super understanding. But I think that's that part of the conscience, right? Like being aware of all this stuff. So I think that has been super affecting. It's been very affecting of recognizing what's been going on in our home communities. For good or for bad. At the beginning of this, when, many of the nations were struggling, I had to also overlay a very interesting part of saying, okay, well, how much of this is feeding into the dead or dying Indian narrative that white folks love so much? And how much of this is our people surviving again, right? And so a lot of the early work that we did at the beginning of the pandemic, we put out that series of posters, which have still been getting traction. Like that, we were one of the first people to put out like Native COVID posters, in that old propaganda style, which was like, stay home, take care of your grandparents. Dale DeForest and Vanessa Bowen and Aragon Starr and Roy Boney all contributed to it, Roy Boney Jr. Because partly I was trying to disrupt that narrative of what we were seeing of like, this is a struggle, and it's not that our people can't get over it, but we don't want to be like native warrior machismo, which is something that pop culture has told us, right? Because it's not that you're so I got to break it down like this. We had warrior societies, there were warrior classes. They were there to defend the people. They were there to take care of the people. That was their protect and serve. That was their whole purpose. Right. And I've looked at this historically. I've talked to people. It wasn't to show how much you could be a badass. It was to show that you were there to take care of the
toxic
people.
Masculinity?
It wasn't. And that's white folks. Right. So the toxic masculinity has been what colonization has put in, overlaid it's white men determining what indigeneity is for our people. Right. And I've read so many books, and I've read so many Native books that when white guys draw it, they do that. It's just like, and the men went out to hunt, and they did the hunting, and and I was like, that was English folks. Men did whatever was required to make sure the people survived. That was our role. You know what women's roles was? Same thing. And usually they were the ones that were like, oh, and we got a little bit more, we're more attuned. So we're going to tell you also how this is going to play out, because we're the ones that are just as strong. Right. So that balance, that equilibrium within our Native communities, right? And not a mythological, because we also try to peel back, right? That construct that we always have to do of like trying to peel back of like, okay, what was colonization? What was real? And what are we like overcompensating for? It's the fact that like, we can look back at traditional stories. We can look back at our communities and our values and say, we don't need more toxic masculinity. We don't need more. We need warriors that are going to protect themselves and their families. That's a warrior. Right. And that's a warrior now. That's an Indigenous Futurisms concept of a warrior. We don't need someone out there stabby and doing whatever. We actually need more warriors that are willing to count coup. They're just going to go up and touch you with a feather and be like, I'm out. Peace. Like, that's what we need,
stand
right?
around having my chest out all the time. And,
like, like we don't need more of like the punchy guys that are getting into fights. We need more people that are, I think, when people are going to people, but what we really need in our communities are the ones that are willing to think deeply and have that conscience and look back and say like, no, my responsibility as a warrior for my community is to make sure that my people are safe. And and what was really cool was we did see that, right? Like the first round really caught a lot of our communities by surprise, but then a lot of people stepped up. In Pueblo country, man, we shut everything down. We locked all the borders off. Like,
y'all
you
are
could not
still
get through.
shutting things down.
Right? Dude, we just set up barricades. And it's like, turn around, go back that way. And I was like, Right. And it's going to suck for a little bit for folks at home. But you know what? When we are dealing with language loss at astronomical levels, the loss of one grandparent, the loss of one elder in our community has profound impacts. So we can't even afford to do that anymore because of what we're struggling with, right? So that was my big thing coming off of like how it affected me personally, culturally, especially in the early days. Business-wise, it's been weird. It's just been weird. Like, I don't even know, like, we started out, we had to shut down in May. The Comic-Con was canceled. We were 3 weeks out of the Comic-Con. Boom, we were done. Like, and fortunately, we kind of saw the writing on the wall. So we were already like being like, hey guys, we might not be doing. So we were always starting to make motions of like, what are we going to do instead? You know? And so we put up a digital thing. Like, you know, we did our Indigenous Futurisms days, like 12 hours of programming. Just I posted on Facebook and be like, peace, watch this for 6 hours a day. You'll be fine. You know, get your Comic-Con on. And then it just entered that, you know, was what I think historians and our own people will tell stories years from now about like the quiet time, right? Like we went into that, you know, that March, April, May, where it was really quiet. The cars weren't going because everybody was on lockdown. Everybody was scared. You couldn't, you know, like nothing was open, literally like the grocery store, right? You're getting there. And I mean, we were having like, I was just doing pickup. I didn't want to go into a grocery store anymore. And
LA cleared up.
Right. LA clears up.
Like smog that went away.
You know, San Francisco clears up, right? Like New York, like all the smog goes away from these cities and you can finally like, oh, look, there's the Hollywood sign again. I haven't seen that in 4 years, right?
Exactly.
So, you know, Albuquerque, the same thing. It was like, there was a couple of times we went on a bike ride with my kid and it was just like, it was kind of eerie. It was like, you know, there was still traffic on the free. I mean, like there was still something going on I-40, but not like it was, right? So that quiet time was really this moment of introspection of trying to figure out what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, and really being able to figure out how we wanted to focus our energies. You know, I've actually come to this point, I call it the dreaming, right? So we entered a dream space. And in that dreaming, you know, I'm seeing a lot of like folks like you and like me and other folks, these creatives that like have spent this time to sort of like allow our brains to kind of take a breath. And now we're kind of like, ooh, there's some cool things we can do. Ooh, there's some really interesting stuff that we can have happen. So when we shut down the retail shop, but we didn't shut down the shop, right? So we were still shipping, we were still doing things, you know, within, like we were still sending books out and we were still making connections. So during that time, I was like, hi guys, we're still here. Hi guys, we're still around. Hey, Red Planet's still open. And I think that's kind of like, and I knew it immediately. I was like, right now, all this is going to be branding time. Next 2 months is just building your brand. Letting people remember that you haven't closed, that you're still alive, and that you're still doing work, right? So we've come out of it in the last couple of months. We opened back up the retail shop when we were allowed to in the state with June, but we opened it up in that kind of way of like, one person in, you're wearing a mask, and we get the right to pitch you if you're going to be a jerk. So like, that's and then we allow one person into the shop. But what it became was really interesting because the people that are in the shop now, we get, you know, we can line folks up, but the people that come into the shop are very much, you know, they are conscientious consumers. They are coming there to buy comics, right? So in some ways, we sort of narrowed down the walking traffic, which we didn't really get too much at our location anyway. We'd get a little, but instead of staying open for 8 hours, hoping somebody's going to walk in on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, we now get people that show up on the Wednesday and they are direct there because they're getting their comics. And we're starting to be like the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company of this. It's like, we made it through the hurricane. We're one of the last comic book shops standing. So you should come on down and buy comics, right? Like, I know there's other ones in Albuquerque, but it's like, we're still here. So there's a part where people are like, oh, you're still open. And we're like, yup, you should come get some comics, right? And then in the meantime, I just got on like this big moral kick of like, hey, because I'm watching, you know, the publishing industry didn't stop. They're still putting out books. All the stuff that happened with the protests and George Floyd and our own communities that are banding together around Black Lives Matter, you know, Indigenous Futurisms, right? We're still here. We didn't get murdered and quit murdering us. You know, we've kind of tabbed on that in a certain way. And that really kind of fired me up personally at the back end of this, is to look at it and be like, man, y'all talk a big game a lot, not y'all, but like, a lot of people on social media talk a big game all the time about supporting and diversity and all the rest of that. And I was like, yeah, that's great. You know what? We've been diverse for a long time now. Western and white publishers have published our stuff since the 1860s. Okay. But it doesn't mean that we're working in the industry, and it doesn't mean that you're helping us distribute this stuff to Native schools. You're making money off our stories. And I want Native creatives to always have the shine. But the problem is that shine ain't going to last if we're not taking control of this stuff, right? From top to bottom, which was always one of my long-term goals of starting the publishing house. We need to control the means of distribution. We need to control the means of production. So for me, when I came out of this was like super inspired, more radicalized, I guess, than I was before. As if that's a. I'm with you. I like to talk nice, but I definitely like the spirit is just like, oh no, you know, and so I think that, you know, I mean, I've been pushing back on, like, you know, in a kind way. I'm hoping a kind way, in a gentle way, with Native writers and people that I know of. Like, when your book comes out, quit posting that it made it to Amazon. Like, you have to stop posting Amazon, because that doesn't. Your big publisher, that's fine, but you actually lose money. And if you're a small publisher, we don't get to see any of that, right? Like, I can't post to Amazon without getting a huge cut taken out of that. So the more you post to them, the more you're putting money into Bezos's hands, the more you're putting money into spaces that are trying to, and I'm actually, and listen, I don't want to say that, you know, anybody that decides to post on this after it goes and it's like, oh, you're a hypocrite. I know you ordered from Amazon 3 days ago. You're right, because it's a habit. It's an addiction. So actually, I've been really been very conscious about, like, the only thing I do on Amazon, you know, like now, is basically just fill my cart. So I know that I want to buy, and then I go somewhere else, an actual store, and buy it, right? Yeah. Because it's the only way this is going to work. It's the only way we break the construct. And if we're going to be indigenized around this, and we're going to be activists around this, then we also have to take those conscientious steps and say, you know what? I'm not going to get the book day after tomorrow. I'm going to get the book in 2 weeks, because that's how long it takes me to order the book and get everything set at my shop. And you know what? We need to be better about that. Say, you know, it's cool. And honestly, I say to folks, I was like, cool, maybe you don't like Red Planet for whatever reason. Fine. Order from Birch Bark Books. Order from Resistencia Books. Order from your local independent bookstore. Quit punching money at these folks, because otherwise we ain't going to make changes. So that's what I came out of all this with, was totally like, I'm all like, we're going after the system, and I'm going to make my last stand on my little tiny comic shop and see where we end up. Hopefully not a last stand. My God, I didn't mean to say it like that as a dead or dying Indian. I mean, right? I'm going to make my Indigenous Futurisms stand where we survive.
Oh.
I got caught on my own pop culture petard.
Oh, jeez. It's okay. Kenrick said the other week that he was going to have a wagon burning. So here we are. It's all good.
I guess that's going back to, that's keeping it real, though. I mean, you ain't wrong. So I mean,
we did burn a couple of churches.
I'm just saying.
So what I'm getting is, are you hearing this, Indian country? We need more Lee Francises and less Cocoums out there. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a blast at Disney. Sorry.
That's nice.
Anyway, so my second question, and it goes back to your store. You know, we're in November, and this is celebrating Indigenous Heritage Month. You know, hey, we got a month. You know,
I'll take it.
So, better than a day.
Yeah, right. I mean, but aren't we Indigenous every day? Anyway, so Marvel is celebrating Indigenous history with a landmark special. They have their Marvel Voices, right? And they have Indigenous Voices #1. And it's written and drawn by just amazing Indigenous, talent all over the world, or all over the world, right here. And how is this coming through your shop? Like, how are consumers of Red Planet books and comics getting Marvel Voices, Indigenous Voices #1?
Well, I'm gonna say right now, if you didn't get it already, you might be out of luck. They are already, fortunately, in the best way possible, they're already on back order. So we order through one of the distributors that pushes out the Marvel stuff. We tried as hard as we could to get as much information out to people. It's like, listen, if you're gonna order through us, it's got to be now, because we kind of knew that it's gonna be a limited run. Now, hopefully, if we can keep pushing it, they'll go into a second printing. And I think that we could absolutely sell out another second printing just from my shop alone. Sure. Quite frankly, if they ran another 1,000, I was like, dude, we could roll 1,000, I think, pretty easily for the people that would buy this. So right now, if you haven't got it, we'll probably end up with a few copies left. But we actually even had to pull our listing, on our website because we were starting to hit our own. We ordered extra copies and we still are hitting the cap that we pre-ordered for. So the hard part about running a retail shop is you got to try, I can't be like, I'm going to order 1,000 copies and then nobody shows up to the party. So we do have to be realistic about what we think we can move into the community. But the response was pretty solid in terms of the people, because we know all the people that are part of it. They've been members of Indigenous Comic-Con. I've worked with Wishoya Alvitre. She's the illustrator I've worked with on 2 books. Jim Terry is a good guy. All these folks that we know that have come as part of this. Jeff Reggie is doing all the, Jeffrey Vergay, is doing all of the, the alt covers for it. It's pretty, it's pretty solid, right? So I think that's kind of where we are. And as the bookseller, I think our biggest thing was saying one, not only support a native bookshop, a native comic shop that's doing this, but the call that we made to everybody was listen, if you don't support this, then it really starts to get hard to swallow and tolerate when you are asking about native representation in popular media, right? And there are a lot of social media folks, they're just I don't like the way this is. And white people always read, and I was like, yeah, but you had an opportunity and you didn't take that opportunity, right? Or maybe you did, but I don't, I know there's some folks that don't, because they just want to chatter a little bit. So partly we said here's the moment, here's the moment to do this. We can show the industry as native people that we want, that we desire, and that we deserve this kind of positive representation of native superheroes in the Marvel canon, right? Echo in Daredevil and, a better version of Red Wolf. I don't think they're doing that, but I'm and Warpath not dying an episode in, to X-Men, right? Not being the sidekicks to the stories anymore.
The Help.
So yeah, the Help. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was our big thing. So right now I'm man, I tell people, yeah, if you want the Marvel stuff, we can put it on back order, and we got other great comics. You should buy those because they're really great, and they're by native artists, right? Exactly. So, that's pretty much probably got to land at this point.
So, what's your take on Werewolf by Night?
Which one is that one?
That's the Marvel project with Taboo.
Oh, I know a little bit about that. I'm not sure I'm fully up. I think that, they had Tab Tip. I feel like it's him and a couple of others, not him directly, right? He's got another writer, if I recall correctly, or he's got some other folks that are a part of that. I don't remember.
I think it's a story that he came up with.
Okay.
But he didn't illustrate it.
Right.
I think it's Werewolf by Night, and one of the illustrators is, I think he's a non-native. It's Mike McCone, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know too much about it. I just know that, Werewolf by Night. For me, the story just kind of sounds,
I'm always hopeful.
Yeah,
I cross my fingers in the sense that, with Taboo and the way that he's been, he's got a lot of privilege. He's got a lot of access. There's a certain style of we'll say it, Hollywood natives, right? It's the folks that are living in the space. There's no doubt about it. I know many of them. I adore many of them. It's just, but that's the world that they live in. They live on the left coast, and that's where they are. And hopefully, it's something that that he's, because I know he's been trying to find his indigeneity and researching with that, and has made some missteps. Many of us have. We do that. So I dig that, and I'm a little more balanced on that. So I can be that's cool. You haven't done anything that makes me really think that oh, you might not be invited back to the, I'm going to say barbecue, but I was going to say to the matanza, I guess New Mexico style, to the roast, to the feast. You might not be invited back to feast day. So I haven't seen that yet. And I think he's really trying. I think he has been working on a lot of the stuff. So I'm going to have to wait and see. I think werewolf stuff, my favorite werewolf stuff is the stuff coming out of Beth LaPonce. And she and I are working on some stuff coming up. So hopefully we'll be able to put some things out in the world with that. Awesome. And, and Stephen Graham Jones, right? He's done werewolf comics, and, Mongrels is fantastic as a story. So I'm hoping to see a little bit, of that kind of an influence, and not going the kind of not going with the sparkly vampires, native werewolves style influence, right? So
those were some deadly uncles out there, man.
I'm just gonna say,
shirtless, deadly uncles.
And I ain't got a problem with like sparkly vampires either, because I thought Pattinson did a really good job as a sparkly vampire. I really like that kid. So the Pattinson kids, he's gonna have a good future. I've seen it.
Batman, man.
Yeah,
So-
right.
We know that you have a history of working with Native Indigenous youth, giving back and all of that. What would you say to an Indigenous youth, or what have you said to Indigenous youth as far as who may be interested in going into this creative world and being a writer or being a comic book drawer, illustrator? There's the word I'm looking for. Or, or who may be interested in this field. What would you say to them? What advice would you give to them?
I mean, I got two pieces of read as much as you can, not just native writers, read everybody. That's so important. I mean, I read, deconstruct, focus on form, like learn, and learn your own stories, learn the form of your own stories, deconstruct your own stories, how they come about, your traditional stories, because they're so immensely entertaining and they contain so much wisdom and knowledge. But you're still, if you're going to appeal to your own audience, then that's great. But you also want to appeal to white folks. I mean, they still got a bunch of the monies. So we still got to write a few things that at least kind of give them a pathway to understand what the hell we're talking about. Right. So I've always felt that. But that depends on the audience when I go after. If you want to be all just like, nope, I don't care. I'm just going to write for your people. That's so amazing. Right. But you got to read and you got to listen and you got to be able to take in, all of that information and then really develop your own voice, your own construct of indigeneity. I know as young people, in terms of creating that, a lot of times it's mimicry. And I think the mimicry is super important, right? Draw like your favorite anime comic, write it in an anime style, then start bringing in your own constructs. How do Indigenous people how do we tell stories at home in this sort of cyclical way, right? How can you bring in characters from our own Indigenous platforms, right? And our own traditional stories, the respectful ones, knowing the right time, obviously. But how do you bring those in to be able to, not only do honor, I hate that word, not only to ensure that, we respect and represent our traditions, but also carve a new path for the generation ahead of them, right? Like I'm starting to age out. So it's now their turn to pick it up. And hopefully I've carved enough of a path where they can take that forward. And then their responsibility is to take it farther than that. Right? They got to take the next step.
Tribal Elder Lee Francis.
Oh, no, not yet. No. God, I won't take that on for a long time. I don't even know ever. We'll dismiss that one quite. I'll just be like, they're like, you ain't earned elder status. I'm like, you're probably right. I ain't there yet. I don't have the maturity yet. You're right. Thank you, Grandma. I appreciate it. But I think that's, one of the pieces. And I'll also say for Native folks, as I've watched a lot of this, is really around is to remember the humility of the wisdom of our grandparents. We can be active as much as we want to. We can push back against the system as much as we want to. But also, that humility that you got to bring people with you. And I know, the bigger you get, the more haters you get. But at least I know probably in my heart that I've tried to do as good as I can to bring people with me, young people, old people, anybody that I can, to try and make space for that, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Sometimes situations get in the way. You can't do exactly what you want to do, but trying to do the best that we can. And for the young people, I say as part of that humility, got to put that ego in check. When you come into this is like not a sense of confidence, but the ego when you come in and you're basically just like, well, I've had somebody say this, but I'm a native writer and they should publish me. And I was like, oh, kiddo, that's not how the world works. Like you can publish you. And I fully, if you publish it and it's not like racist or evil or whatever, I'll carry it in the shop, right? Like I'll always carry native work in the shop. But there's a difference between me carrying in the shop and someone actually publishing it, whether it be me, whether it be my friends that run small publishers, or whether it would be one of the big publishers. You shouldn't count on. A lot of times the big publishers will publish you because you're native, but you shouldn't count on it. And a lot of the times the folks that make it into that stratus, they got lucky. They were in the right place at the right time. They were the right look at the right time. That's not the majority of us. And so the kids, you gotta come at it from a perspective of, you gotta hustle, you gotta work hard, you gotta listen to elders. If it's not me, listen to somebody else and take that criticism. Be like, yo, this is not that good. Or yo, this is amazing, but you got to change 8 things. As a writer myself, that's the hardest thing to get into, is because all of my words are always amazing.
Exactly.
But I know that ain't true, right? Like, I know that is not true, because an editor is going to come back and be like, nah, you got to fix it. You've made typos. You've missed a couple of things. The continuity is off. And I've seen some Native folks get really hampered by that criticism, that they take it really personally. And because of that, because we got such big hearts, because we've been beaten down by colonization, white folks all the time, that rebound of that defense is like, well, I'm Native and it should be published. And I was like, it's not going to be me though, if you're not willing to take this. So for young people, I say, adhere to what you want to do artistically, and maybe you're going to make a last stand, right? Truly in your work, but it's always good to listen to the folks that have been in the fields and set it aside for a moment. Be like, swallow it, listen, be grateful, be thankful that person is taking the time to read your work and talk to you. As harsh as it may be, they've taken the time to take a look at it. So, respond accordingly, hopefully gratefully and graciously. And if you want to move on and do what you're going to do, as my last bit is like, fine. If you're going to, step up, you got that confidence, you think it's the greatest thing ever done, then publish it, yo. What am I going to say? I'm just a stupid not elder that doesn't know what they're talking about. If you feel like it and you're going to push back against it, then do it. But you got to run it the whole way. Don't be waiting for the world to pick you up because you're Native and they're going to help you out. Hustle it. Sell it, man. 50 Shades of Grey is probably one of the worst written books that we've ever seen.
Oh my God.
And that lady's got $1 billion now. So you know what? She hustled it. Get out there. And I'm sure somebody told her, they were like, this is a terrible book. You need to edit. She's like, nope, I'm just going to publish it. Lo and behold, everybody buys it. So the last bit is, I'm like, have an ego. You're like, don't have an ego. Listen. But if you're going to do it, then just go do it. Like, don't listen to me. I'm dumb. Who knows?
Oh man, the words of Lee Francis, everybody. My goodness, dropping knowledge bombs. I need the sound effects. So perfect. Look, Lee, I mean, it's always amazing hearing from you. But before we even let you go, because I just have to nerd out a little bit with you.
Sure.
And by the time our listeners are hearing this, I'm pretty sure we're going to be in episode 4. But what's your take on Mandalorian episode 1? Season 2.
I am watching it tonight, and here's why.
You're watching
no, hold on. I have not, because I have. We'll get to this, and when we're taping this, it's been Halloween time at the house. So at the house, we have been very busy, and I have not been able to give it my full, undivided attention. It's happening today. This is a Sunday, All Saints Day. I'm very excited. Today is my day. Everybody leaves me alone this afternoon, and I get to give it my full and undivided attention, which I'm so excited about. So that's what I will say at this point. So by the time this goes to air, I will have caught up with everything. I will be well in advance, but it was the first time we just hit it the wrong time. And I got a 10-year-old who was like, no, I want to jump on your face. And I was like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing today. I'll watch this when I can give it my whole soul, because I am so excited.
Awesome. Okay, well, hey, I guess I was the only one who hopped on that bandwagon right away.
You're the man. Do not spoil it. Do not say a word.
I won't. All I'll say is that you'll enjoy it. I believe.
I'm stoked. I'm so happy that
Yeah.
I've just been looking. It comes up on it's my Disney feed, and it rolls over, and I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
soon, baby, I'll be able soon.
You know what? The only thing that upsets me about that, and give it to them because it worked last year, is that I'm from that binge culture.
Oh, it's the weekly, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like, dang it, because that's the first thing our boy said too. He was like, "So can we watch the whole season?" And I'm like, "No, sorry, we're gonna have to muscle through this every week." Yep. So
every week, you gotta wait for it.
You'll enjoy it. I guarantee.
I'm excited. Thanks, my man.
before we let you go, the last thing for me is what can we expect from you, publishing, from store? What can we expect in 2021?
Oh, it's going to be exciting. The resurgence of the Indigenous Comic-Con. It's coming back. I don't know what form it's going to take. Hopefully it'll be in person. We'll see if we can talk to humans again and be in the same space. If not, it's going to be, we're figuring out some sort of hybrid digital. We may do 2 things this next year. So that's part 1. Red Planet, we are actually very excited. We are relaunching. It's a little in parentheses. It's our relaunch for Red Planet. We've got a brand new logo. We got some new offerings that are coming out of the shop. We're going to be focusing on websites, going to get a refresh. We're going to be getting ready for the holidays. So we've got some really cool partnerships. We're calling it Books Plus, which essentially like you'll have other so all throughout Native Heritage Month, we're going to be focusing on new things. One of them is going to be like our cookbooks. But we got a partnership to be able to, you can buy like spices or an apron or like cooking utensils from one of our partners. So buy a Native book, support another small business. So we're going to have, like our Natives Plus, also Native businesses. We're going to be getting some of those folks in. So we've got some added stuff coming out of the shop. This one right here, I have it on deck. This will be out in Digimatch. It was our Kickstarter fulfillment. It'll be out for sale for real. It's already on pre-sale right now, but it'll be released at the end of November, coming right in time for the holidays. So that'll be one of the things. We've got a bunch of publications that we're looking at getting out. We're working with a couple of role-playing games. So we're trying to get some TTRPGs out there in the world. We don't have enough Native style and like Edragor and like maybe 2 others. And that's about it. We're hoping to get a couple more of the comic books set. Our partnership with University of New Mexico Press. We will be releasing I can't say it right now. We will be releasing a book out of them. That's as far as I can get. Woo! But there's going to be a new publication coming out with that. I haven't authorized. I almost blew it too. I was so close. We got a new publication coming out. And then we've got some really great from our nonprofit WordCraft Circle side. We're going to be launching our own series of interviews with Native writers called Word Weavers. So we're going to be doing some really great stuff with Native writers and Native creatives. We've got a youth series that's going to be coming out that we filmed here in New Mexico. That's going to be a whole various types of things like illustration and theater and all these stuff with Native folks that we filmed, where we'll have an activity and then we'll kind of like Sesame Street this thing where it's also like, but let's talk to somebody that really does this. And then they talk for a while and then we have like another little outro. So man, the sky is the limit right now. I'm so excited. Like, I feel like that's what I was saying is coming out of this dream time, like this dreaming space. Right. And we got all these ideas and a lot of energy, and we may all have to go back inside for a little while, but we're going to try and put as much up as we can for folks to just to help them with the time. And once we can emerge, it's going to be like emerging in the spring, and we're going to be just rocking and rolling.
So basically, I'm hearing that if you listening, watching, have any sort of holiday needs, maybe you should go check out Red Planet.
Red Planet Books and Comics. Yep.
Yes.
It's not just books and comics anymore. I think that's going to be our tagline. That's a terrible tagline, but it's not just books and comics anymore. Like, we got other stuff. We'll have toys. You can order some baby Yodas from us. We'll have like cookbooks and stuff. We got all sorts of stuff to meet your holiday needs.
I love it.
I'm going to chime in and say Lee needs to make a shirt that says, "Don't listen to me." Captions, "I'm not an elder yet."
Even better. Wait. Don't listen to me. I'm the wrong Indian.
I'm the wrong Indian. There it is. That's the one.
That's the official shirt.
I got that now.
Oh, trademark. Come on.
Trademark. Get it down now.
Where can we find you, Lee? Where can everyone find you on the .coms?
You can find me personally at Lee Francis IV on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram at Pueblo Jones. And I'm all over Facebook, so you can find me directly at Facebook. You can check out the shop at Red Planet BNC. We just got our Instagram up, so we got a new Instagram page, so you can look at all the stuff that we're going to have throughout the holidays. Red Planet BNC. You can check us out at Red Planet booksncomics.com. It's on N, it's an N. So booksncomics.com is where you can check out all of our listings. Coming the end of this week, Thursday, Friday, we'll be relaunching the website. So we'll have a whole new selection for you guys to be able to check out some cool stuff. You can check out the nonprofit work at wordcraftcircle.org. And you can find, I mean, literally just type in Native Indigenous Comic-Con. You'll find every frippin' frappin' listing that we have in the entire world. So there's too many of them. But yeah, that's where we're going to be. So you can find us on all the social medias and check out our stuff. Support Native, support local, support Native creatives. Boom, boom.
Bam. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lee Francis. You know what's funny? I think like we should end this like in that whole concept, like, because by the time this airs, we're going to either have a new president or we're going to have what? So it's like, what's our emotional status right now? Like we should have like two versions, right? Like we're like,
we should have like we should have the one that's just the have. I feel like we're just living in like a two-faced kind of world. It's just a coin flip about whether we live or die. And your listeners can take that however they want to take that.
Indigenous Futurisms.
All I'm gonna say is we've already survived. This my mother reminded me the other day because I was just in a very nihilistic, dark place, and she's like, "Honey, we've survived." And no matter what, we will continue to survive. So let's just end on that.
That's a good way. That's what I said. It's just the coin flip. It's like, I don't know. You take it the way you want to take it. It's still 50-50. Whatever's going to happen. We don't know. So
we've been doing this since 1492. What's the difference?
Yep. And I'll add the hopeful note to it. The reason we survived was because we supported each other. Right. So I think that's the most important part that we can take out of this. I don't know what crazy white folks going to do up in Washington, D.C. What I know is what we can do in our communities on the ground. And I know how that we need to take care of each other and love one another. And a lot of some of our Native fights that come from long ago, that come from colonization, that come from patriarchy, we need to let a lot of that stuff go. Well, that's that letting go of that ego. And because we got to embrace each other if we're all going to survive and make it through this.
Absolutely.
That's the only way. So.
Well, there you go. I think that's a great way to kind of close out. Thank you so much for coming in and talking with us. And we're probably going to talk some more. You're just an awesome human being. So
I appreciate it, y'all. Though, hey, thank you so much for having me. I love coming back on the show. It makes my whole day. I get to nerd out and just talk a while. So how am I going to complain?
Dr. Lee Francis, that is Red Planet Books and Comics, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.